Hey everybody, what's going on? Welcome back to the channel once again for another video. Today we're talking about something Melissa McBride said regarding the line that we thought was a throwaway line in the last episode, talking about she has a friend that had a brother that lived in Barcelona, lived in Spain before everything went to shit. With the fan base that reads the comics that immediately knew what she was talking about, and everyone was like, "Oh my God, there it is! There's the clue or the hint or the whatever you want to call it regarding Rick Grimes' brother Jeffrey." And the standalone comic. This was just a side story that was set up by the Walking Dead comics called The Alien about his time in Barcelona when everything goes to shit. And as far as the show is concerned, as far as any connections there, we've never really gotten any mention of his brother, except I think very briefly or just kind of in passing by. Lori mentions it, I think, very early on. We never get any other kind of connections or any mentions or anything of a brother that's Rick or that Rick may or may not have. And then we also, within the Ones Who Live, we got that story where Rick is telling Okafor about his time as a kid and his dad purposely setting the cornfields on fire, what have you, to collect insurance on it, or else they were going to go down. And then he never mentions a brother there. So we're left wondering, did the shows in that particular comic have any canon between them? And it seems that they might actually have something being set up based on what Melissa McBride said. She said, how he has a brother and everything, and she says, who knows? It could be possible that we turn this into a bigger store. We might have already done that. I can't tell you. But of course, she's not going to tell us. But right there, Melissa McBride confirming that they are, in fact, setting up a possible story regarding Rick's brother because they are going to spend some time in Barcelona during this season of Daryl Dixon. So you have to wonder, is that the case? Is this something that she truly meant that she's confirming, or is this just another tease, another way to keep people interested? Because we all know that the interest and the hype and everything behind Walking Dead is not remotely what it used to be. And people are kind of getting fed up with it. And now, though, with the announcement from Andy Lincoln, or I guess kind of in passing during an interview where the interviewer, of course, asks him, do you have any plans to go back to the show? And he says, we are having conversations about it. So we know that they are setting up something. They're trying to get something in place. They're trying to get Andy back. Hopefully Michonne. Honestly, I hope they bring back a bulk of that cast for any kind of reunion show, or what the plans are there, because they always said that The Ones Who Live was a limited thing. It was a limited series. It was about Rick and Michonne's trip back home. We got that story. So we don't know beyond that if we're going to get an all-new series. But this was very much teased by Scott Gimple. But I think Scott Gimple is in the business of just teasing people to keep them interested, or just even remotely interested, because he does not follow through on a lot of our stories. We've had so many different things come up over the years. The variant thing with the Walkers, of course, being the biggest, where it's been inconsistent, but of course, because different showrunners over the years and whatnot. But we got the whole big variant thing in the last season of Daryl Dixon, and it seems that was kind of contained to that one area because Walkers are being experimented on, what have you. And here more lately, we got that PPP connection again. We got that little glimpse there, if you didn't catch it in the last episode, where Daryl goes to make that Rubik's Cube offering to that statue, to the saint. We see a vest, or we see some kind of coat or something that says PPP. So you have to wonder, are they going to bring back the CRM? Because the CRM, regardless of what people say, are just contrary to what people believe. But just given the story that we were given with The Ones Who Live, the CRM was not completely destroyed. It was just that faction of the military, Beale's faction, his ultimate soldiers or what have you, his secret little faction. Because he also mentions how there are secret little spies or what have you spread throughout the world in different communities to influence their decisions, their politics, or what have you, and eliminate them if they become a threat. So you have to wonder, is that what they're getting back at? So with that, we are left here standing wondering, did she really mean what she said? Did Melissa actually come out and confirm the story? Because if that's the case, well, then why do that? Why take the surprise? Imagine how much the Walking Dead world, the fandom, would have just been rocked if they had just, out of the blue, Jeffrey Grimes is there. He's in Barcelona. He's a passing character, and that's how they're going to set things up. That's how they're going to link everything to go back home, because they find out this is Rick Grimes' brother. And what a surprise and just, wow, shock factor that would be if they set that up. They took him back home, and when they reunited with Rick, they could do the whole big reunion there with Rick and Daryl, and then just kind of sidestep, oh, by the way, look who we found in Barcelona, and just Rick is just shocked and awe right there. So it's just, we're all wondering, is this really true? Are they really going to set this up? We don't know yet. Melissa could have very much been just talking out of her ass. We don't know, because they're doing everything they can to keep the people interested with the show and whatnot. So there's always that possibility. So I guess I will just leave it at that. Take it for what it's worth. We don't know if she was actually revealing anything or just trying to get people excited about the show. I would be very interested to give it a chance to see what they do with Jeffrey, because what happens to him in the comics and his story there could be completely different than what they do in the show. I would really be annoyed and just flat out pissed if they introduced him just to kill him, because, that's what they're famous for with a lot of these side supporting characters, what have you. I've made videos, numerous videos, bitching about it and complaining about it, because we get these characters that are just flat out interesting and we want to learn more about them, more so with our spinoffs, and then they just kill them off. We saw this recently with Julian. Yes, you could say that he was there to provide that boat, but then again, he was a character they could have dived more into and just learned more about, and then they just killed him off. Same with some of our characters last year, of course, the big one being Isabella. They didn't have to kill her off to include her, but I understand too, there's the financial aspect of it where they don't want to make someone else a series regular or one of the stars of the show, because then that means they'd have to dish out the money and make it as close to matching or whatever that our two main characters are getting, and they weren't going to do that for, basically Daryl's love interest or what have you. So there's always that. And then, of course, Nat within The Ones Who Live, who was also just killed off, who, after being introduced to this character that could have been a real asset, and then they just did away with him. And that's just something that I really hope they don't repeat that if they do go down this path of introducing Jeffrey Grimes just to kill him off. That would be the dumbest thing ever, and it would just further piss people off. But aside from that, if you are still a Last of Us fan, there's still some out there, regardless of the show, that's is just completely kind of killed my interest with the franchise or whatever. It is Last of Us Day, so more than likely we'll get no kind of announcements or anything. People are still hanging on hope that we'll get a Last of Us Part 3 or something regarding the show, even though the general interest in the show just isn't there anymore. Especially, it says a lot when Neil Druckmann himself, the creator, the mind behind this universe, is like, I'm out, and just pieces out the show to go focus on other things. And just that kind of shows, did he lose faith in it? And with the backlash around casting and whatnot, so just who knows what's going on there. If we'll get anything, we probably won't. I'm not holding my breath for it. But anyways, I guess that will do it. If you enjoyed the video, if you enjoyed talking about Walking Dead or anything like that, please leave a like, leave a comment, consider subscribing, and I'd really appreciate it. And I will see you next time. Take care. Bye.